would like to welcome Mark Stewart from United Kingdom. He is also a right-handed. He's a founder of Left and Right Founder. He's a member of leftin.org. The topic which he's talking about is what are the handwriting issues for left-handers and how to solve them. Started his left-handed business 30 years ago due to his youngest son showing strong signs of being left-handed. Alongside his wife, Ether, they have a co-authored the book So You Think They Are Left-Handed, as well as the scheme Left Hand Writing Skill. Along with their online shop, Mark has also run numerous training courses and has had specific input into a left-handed section with the new writing framework published by the Department of Education of England in July this year. So we have heard left hand mom, now we have to heard right hand mom, now we have to hear right hand father. So let us see, is Mark going to take some other issues, other perspective for growing up a left-handed son from the father's perspective. So welcome, Mark. Over to you.
Thank you first very much for having me to do this talk. It's much appreciated. There have been some excellent presentations today. So thank you to all those who did that. Thank you also to Steve for his very kind words about the new writing framework. That's much appreciated. And Tracy, I'm not sure not sure I've got much more to say after you did your handwriting bit. But anyway, so I'll probably be repeating some of them. But like Tracy, in fact, with our family, my wife and I were both right-handed. My wife is actually a teacher, Heather, and we have our youngest son, who you will see there, and that is Robert, and he was the inspiration for opening our shop just over 30 years ago now, looking for a pair of scissors for him when he was 4 that started us off. So my topic is, what are the handwriting issues for left-handers and how to solve them? So there are a couple of quotes that I've got picked up over the years, and this is one from an American website. It's on handwriting. It says, penmanship is a basic and essential skill that plays a critical role in a child's basic literacy and overall success in school. And if you want to have a look at the further parts of the item, of the article, it's on IWF.org, which stands for International Women's Forum. It was a particularly good read. And then our UK Department of Education has said in the past that handwriting is the most fundamental building block of being educated. And also there was a piece in the paper back in 2011, a long time ago I know, but it reinforces, I think, that every single parent expects their children to be taught how to write properly at school. The national curriculum at that time stipulates this as an absolutely central part of primary school lessons. I can repeat that hopefully the writing framework will be part of a new national curriculum that is being published next year. So we've certainly had progress. And while Steve has kindly shown parts of it, there is still room for improvement. And sadly, I don't know whether any of you noticed it, they just produced showing 2 hands, and it was just mirror image of the right-hander, which if anybody knows anything about handwriting for left-handed, that is totally incorrect. But I'm still working on that, so we have work to do. It would be great if you have some pen or pencil and paper in front of you, because this might help you, particularly the right-handers, understand what some of the issues are behind writing for left-handed children. So what I'd like you to do is have your paper straight in front of you. Okay, so it's directly in front of you. Hold the pen or the pencil or pen in your left hand and try and write your name. And when you get to the end of your name, I want you to stop there. Keep your hand exactly where it is. And then you may start to appreciate what the problems are. Firstly, you will be pushing the pencil, as the others have said, rather than pulling. And as right-handers, we pull the pencil. It's much easier to pull than push. But the left hand is having to push the pencil. And in the past, actually moving the paper to make it easier for the left-hander was almost considered a sin. You know, you get your hand smacked if you had turned the paper. So everybody had to have the paper straight in front of them. The angle of the left arm meant either they went over it and smudged it, or they went over the top with the sort of hook style that has already been mentioned. Neither were good ways, really, to do it. So those are some of the problems the left-handers may have. Some of the possible repercussions of having a poor handwriting style. Firstly, pain. You can imagine that if you're having a hook style of writing, you're likely to suffer from pain in the wrist. I had one girl who said she was told to hold her pen or pencil really tightly, and in some way that was going to make her handwriting better. Obviously did nothing of the sort. So she ended up getting pains up her arms and her shoulders. A lot of issues that I've seen over the 30 years have been in smudged work, particularly when they used a pen. And whilst you can get pens that have quick drying ink, whiteboards, which are certainly in use in primary school in this country, are often used, and that is a particular issue for left-handers because they go over, they smudge the work, they get messy hands. That's the next thing, messy hands, unable to see what was previously written. This is quite interesting. I had a lady many years ago, and her 11-year-old daughter had just failed an exam called the 11 plus, and she failed it by one single point. And there were about a couple of hundred multiple choice questions. And of course, every time she went to tick it, and the boxes were on the right hand side that she had to tick, every time she went to tick it, her hand covered over the question. Now, that might not be too much of a problem for 20 or 30 questions, but if you've got a couple of hundred. Funnily enough, the parents had a printing business, and they could immediately see the solution. Why didn't they put boxes on either side, both sides of the question, or between the questions? And then that would give an equal opportunity to both. So if you're asking a child to copy something, makes life an awful lot easier for the left-hander if you put the image on the right, and so they can copy with the left. Moving on, so low self-esteem and confidence. If you're smudging your work, you're not going to be particularly happy about it, and it may well lead to frustration. Fairly obviously, it's going to lead to poor marks because the teacher's not going to be able to read what you've written, so that's not particularly good. Reluctance to do home and school work. The possible repercussions of poor handwriting can go far beyond the classroom. I had one mother who came in, she said every Tuesday was handwriting day for her child. But the child didn't want to go to school. And the reason was handwriting day. So it can cause problems well outside the school. And it may lead to an inability to achieve their full academic potential. Over the years, I've collected, taken photographs of the most amazing, frankly appalling handwriting grips you will ever see. How they managed to write, I haven't got a clue, frankly. But you can see two of them here, and they're actually standard well, you can see the problems. The one on the right, you know, the child is covering over the writing, you can't actually see it. Look at the tension in the other one's fingers. That's one of the issues we find. A lot of children hold their pencil too tightly, and you can often see that because if you push your fingers together, thumb and the finger at the point, and the nail starts going white, that's a really good visual hint to show actually you're holding it too tightly. And holding it tightly doesn't actually make your writing any better, so not particularly good. My one regret, I have to say, when I had the bricks and mortar shop was that I didn't take a note of the numbers of children that we've helped, because I reckon we must be into the thousands, which in a way is a really sad indictment of our education system. But there you go. Excuse me. So the components of writing left-handed. I don't find this the easiest thing to explain verbally. It's much easier if you've got a child in front of you, but we'll go through it anyway, and hopefully you'll be able to understand. All of these components are critical. If you get one of them out of place, you can still end up with poor handwriting technique. So I think for the third time in the conference, I'm going to repeat mind the elbows. So don't sit a right-hander to the left of the left-hander. How to hold a pen or pencil. Tracy's already shown some grips. The dynamic tripod grip is a particularly good one. And I've got some resources to show you earlier, show you later. That will help. So how you hold the pencil is important. Where you have it in the hand is important. If you look at that previous, both of those previous grips, they're holding it in the wrong part of the hand. The pencil should be in the V shape between the thumb and the forefinger. Going back, aiming up towards your elbow and the shoulder. Where to place the paper or book. Sorry. So instead of having the paper straight in front of you, you put it to the left, and you have the arm and the wrist that's straight. So as you move along the paper, you keep the arm straight, so the hand goes always underneath what you're writing. So when you start, you get your arm in a nice comfortable position. You then turn the paper to line the edge of the paper up with the edge of the arm. That will automatically make the correct angle. And then you move along as you go. So what's a good age to get a good technique? I have to say it probably wasn't until Robert was about 7 or 8 that he could really understand what he was meant to do and put it into practice. But that shouldn't stop you encouraging good habits earlier. And any good habits you can encourage early will help minimize problems later and minimize the time and the effort to get those poor techniques sorted out. You'll see here that, and I've seen these in the shop, that left-handers sometimes write with the paper vertical or at other different angles. And those are perfectly valid. And you'll notice, I hope, that there is a right angle there, 90 degrees. Maybe it should be called the left angle. There's a thought. But as I say, it's the angle of the arm which is dictating the angle of the paper. And you'll see from there that the hand is underneath the writing. They can see what they're doing. There's no smudging, etc. So here's a really good technique. The arm's nice and straight. The pencil's in the correct part of the hand. The hand's going underneath the writing. And that will be, that's a really good technique to copy. So the benefits of a good handwriting style are the opposite of the repercussion of the poor handwriting style, funnily enough. So there is no pain, there is no smudging. They have clearly presented work, they're able to see what's been written. They have clean hands and a pure heart hopefully. No contortions, they have good self-esteem and confidence. They get fair marks for well-presented work and a greater chance to achieve their full academic potential. In the old days, there used to be left-handed, specific left-handed fountain pens, cartridge pens, however you like to describe them. And I sometimes wondered, why they needed left-handed pens. If you look at the one on the left-hand side, the ordinary nib was straight across at the top and right angled at both sides. Now, because the left-hander was pushing, what they did with the left-handed pen was they cut it down at an angle to give a much smoother flow. However, if you think about it, that sort of angle is not designed for the style where you're smudging or you're hooking. So actually, I had parents coming in say, "Oh, can I have a left-handed pen to sort out my child's technique?" And it would actually cause more problems than it solved because the child didn't understand why they needed to do it in a certain way. So buying a left-handed pen isn't necessarily the full answer to it. In fact, it's definitely not the full answer to it. Here's some handwriting resources that can sort of explain and help what I've said. The grips on the left, they're called a grotto grip. I find them particularly useful as they're a dynamic tripod grip. What these do also is they stop the sort of thumb roll that you might see all children, left or right-handers, do, and they're really helpful. They're what I would call a secure grip. The next item is called a sport writer or handy writer. These are really interesting because if you have a child, for example, who is holding the pencil up like this, and you wanted to sit it back in the thumb, between the thumb and the forefinger, this is a really good little device that really pulls it down so it sits in the correct part of the hand. The next one is the Stabilo pencil and also their pen. Excuse me. These I think are particularly good because I don't know whether you've noticed on the pencil you can see it that they've actually printed the name so you can read it. If you hold a right-handed pencil or a normal pencil, you'll see that the printing is usually visible for the right-hander, and when you put it in your left, it's upside down. So what they've also done, which is really helpful again, is they've got the grip molded into the barrel. So that makes it really hard then to have a poor grip. And also, as Tracy said earlier, what they do is they encourage a good grip, a good space between the right and the fingers. So there's less likelihood of them smudging if they were using a pen, and it just keeps the fingers farther away from the writing. They're refillable. The pen also is terrific. Again, you can see the grip is molded into the barrel, and they're refillable as well. I think, I can't remember if it was Tracy or Steve, probably. No, it was the gentleman, Dr. Prashant, who said we've produced some resources. Thankfully, Heather was a teacher and we've been able to take advantage of her experience and knowledge. So we've produced various books. The So You Think They're Left-Handed is for a child, I guess, who's preschool, really, and it has 16 pages of pre-letter formation activities. So Trace again was mentioning about there's different letter formation. So the other thing is about mirror writing, and Robert at one point when he was very young did what he did. He wrote his name from right to left. He wrote Treebor instead of Robert. And what we've done in the So You Think They're Left-Handed and in the other books, we've sort of highlighted the margin and put a little arrow so you know where to start, so the writing goes left to right rather than right to left. So that's a useful book, that it gives advice and help to children as well, and anybody really dealing with children who may be left-handed. It also gives activities that you can do to find out which eye, which hand, which foot is dominant as well. I'd have to say with Robert, we could tell really early. We'd put him in the high chair, put a spoon in his right hand, he'd move it straight to his left, and he is dominantly left-eyed, left-handed, left-footed, really well coordinated. Whereas my eldest son is not. Let's leave it there. Okay, so moving on to the Wrightwell mats that we produced. These are what I would call a good aid memoir. So you can see we've got the letter formation, we've shown the paper turn at appropriate technique, at appropriate angle, and other tips as well. So they're for somebody who may want to do homework at school. Homework at school, homework at home, homework from school at home, but just really reminds them how to get their handwriting technique sorted. And then the left-hand writing skills. These again, they open vertically rather than horizontally, so the left-hander doesn't get the hand caught in the spine. We've gone through specific letter formation, lowercase, capital letters, numbers, cursive writing, and then the book 3 really is for a child who's got their letter formation sorted but really needs a bit of practice, so their menus and recipes and shopping lists and personal fact files, but because handwriting practice, frankly, I don't know about you, when I was a child, writing your name 50 times really wasn't fun. So we've tried to make it more interesting. And then the last thing on the right, I've last year, 2 years ago, we produced a new training package that has been CPD certified. So that includes far more than just handwriting, and I've been delighted with that. Okay, so finally, I thought I'd read this out to you. It certainly does relate to handwriting, but it's one reason that's kept me going for all these 30 years. Um, and I think it's worth listening to, because it gives you an idea of the real problems and challenge that some left-handers have had, certainly in the past. This wasn't from so long ago, but it's a note to say thank you. Last month I popped into your shop to ask about pens for left-handers. Whilst trying them, you suggested ways I might help myself by adjusting angle of paper, my arm position, etc. On return home I set about practicing, and in a short time had filled a page with a much improved script. I was feeling rather pleased with myself, but then became unexpectedly overwhelmed emotionally, as memories of childhood struggles were triggered in messy writing, ashamed of scruffy exercise books, quietly envious of the so neat and tidy scripts of classmates. Then what really got to me was that my quiet struggle need not have been. I realised that in all my years you were the very first person who has sat me down with pen and paper to help me understand why handwriting could be a challenge and how simple techniques could help. This experience has been an insight, and I sincerely hope that things have changed for youngsters at school, so that every left-handed child experiences early intervention to assess writing skills and so provide help if needed. So thanks again. P.S. I have yet to practice on unlined paper. Another challenge. Wow. I have to say, over the years, I've had the most amazing responses and positive results from literally 5-10 minutes help for a left-handed child, um, and it's made all the effort worthwhile. Um, I would further encourage everybody that whilst Steve and Alex, is it Alex? Sorry, I can't remember. And us in the UK have managed to get policies that are getting into place. Words only give you so much. Words are great, but you need the action. And if we don't get the teachers trained, then we are no further forward. The words would have been in vain. So I would encourage everybody, please try, use the UK, use Australia, use it as leverage to try and get your countries to really take on board the issues that left-handed children face day in, day out, and then we can make a real change to the life of left-handed children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for that insightful information. It was very interesting to know about the gadgets or the stationery, left-hand stationery you are marketing and giving it to others. I just wanted to ask one question about, say, 10 people you met right-hander and 10 people you met left-hander. The handwriting skills or handwriting, which is better or attractive?
It's interesting you say that, and what I should have started with is that I have seen the most beautiful handwriting from a left-hander. There is no reason why a left-hander shouldn't have good handwriting, provided they're shown the appropriate technique. And unfortunately, in our schools, they're not. They simply aren't. It's not across the country. Of course, there are teachers who know what they're talking about and are able to help left-handed children. but generally speaking, there is ignorance. And I'm not anti-teacher in the slightest. I say Heather's a teacher. Um, they do a really good job in tough environment, but they haven't been trained, and that's the critical thing. We need to get the teachers trained so when they get into schools, they can help the children. I'm delighted that I'm hopefully going to be doing some training to some trainee teachers in at a university in Lincoln in England, where actually I'm going to boast about this. My great aunt was a lady called Constance Stewart, and she was principal of this university for 25 years. Um, she made it to 100. She's with us no longer, but I think she'd be rather pleased that they are progressing that, and I'm going to be going up there and talking to the trainee teachers, which I think is really useful. And that's what we need to get this out, to get the waves going within our own education system. Um, because it's, this is not rocket science we're talking about. I'm just a right-handed man. I'm not a teacher. I'm nothing special. I'm not clever. I didn't go to university. If I can do it, anybody can do it, frankly. But it needs to be done. Sorry, I get slightly carried away, but
Yeah.
please excuse me.
Yeah. So, just wanted to know, Mark, have you changed the grip of some left-hander from like this to like this and help him
No,
to change the writing?
I wish I'd counted numbers of children we have helped. I think it's probably into the thousands. Some children, I have to say, it depends on the age. You might as well be knocking your head against a brick wall, because they will say, no, no, I do it this way, and that's fine. But the majority I've found that if you actually say, look, yes, you may struggle a little bit changing. I appreciate you've been writing one particular way for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years or more. But the benefits of changing are that you will be able to see what you've written. You won't smudge your writing. You won't get messy hands. You'll get fair marks for what you've produced. And once you've got a good technique sorted, you're sorted for the rest of your life. And you can write in anything. You don't have to find non-smudging pens.
Right.
And
Okay.
often as not, once they see that, once they get that, and I find it with younger children, when they get that light bulb moment, yeah, and they say, now I see why I must do it. Then they
Okay.
understand it and say, okay, now I understand the reasoning behind it. I can write nice birthday cards to my granny or whatever. They can understand the reason why. Then they can carry on and do it. And I have to say, for some children, they sort it out in literally 20 minutes flat, and they're sorted. Some will take longer. You can't be dogmatic about how long it'll take, but the results are often clear to see.
Yeah, Dr. Dipali, you can go
Yeah,
first.
Dipali, go ahead.
Mark, thank you for very wonderful insights, and I loved your heart towards solving these issues for not only right-handers but also left-handers. Now,
Thank you.
the thing is, right in the beginning, Bipin asked one question that should we label left-handers as being messy, as being not able to do this, having wrong bad handwriting or whatever. And from your talk also, I think that thing gets emphasized that we need not label them that you're wrong or you're bad or you cannot do it. We need not put them down. We need not demoralize them. It's just a way to do it. Even Trace's talk was so wonderful. She found a way out for her child. And this is exactly what is needed to handle a left handed child or left handed person. Because it's not we are different, but we are in a different place. So thank you for your talk.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you. I mean, I have to say, I used to work at a college for the blind in Worcester before I opened our shop. And sometimes they felt that they didn't want to be different. But if you can't see anything, then quite frankly, you are different
Yeah.
from the vast majority. And my son is different from me. He's left-handed, but he certainly has his own skills and abilities, which I don't have. At age 3 or 4, he did a drawing that had perspective in it, and I struggled to draw matchstick men, frankly. My drawing is
Very true.
appalling.
Yeah.
But you know, and he's proud to be left-handed. Um, in answer actually to one of Bipin's previous queries about providing appropriate equipment, and I'm sorry, Emmanuel, if I'm taking up your time or saying what you might say, but I would respond to Bipin's previous question by saying that I would much rather have my child with good self-confidence, good self-esteem, that he's able to do the task that he's required, than leave him to struggle with low self-esteem and not be able to achieve his full potential. And I understand where you're coming from, Bipin, maybe as sort of a devil's advocate slightly with that question. Interestingly, he has left-handed scissors. He's a paramedic, works on the air ambulance. Mighty proud of him. And he's able to get an ambidextrous blood pressure scale, I think it is,
Wow.
or something like that, which is great. So yeah, there we go.
I
Okay,
just want to make one
Bipin.
comment.
Yeah.
After listening to Tracy and you, Mark, and maybe I have not yet listened to Emanuela, maybe the kind of emotions, the kind of heart that you have poured into your work, though being right-handers, because it's your child, speaks volumes. Because the moment that we are in, we are trying to rope in left-handers themselves. Adult children are, of course, not in the question, but adults. And they are either aggressive about it or completely passive, completely inert about the whole movement. Because they are already grown up. They don't think it's necessary now to do anything. Nothing can be changed now. But parents like you are the real backbone, the real, pushing force for this movement. And we need to get more parents involved in the left-handed movement than left-handers themselves. That is my observation for many days, because left-handers do not respond as much as the parents do. Parents need it more. So let's work on to roping in more parents than more left-handers. That's my comment. And it's a wonderful job you have been doing. Congratulations. And really, really liked your presentation. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you. It's a
Bipin.
I
pleasure.
will take.
Steve,
I'm going to fetch a minute, Prashant, Dr. Prashant. Wait, because
yeah.
I want to go back to the concept of origin of handedness. We are discussing that. Now, what Mark has presented and what Tracy presented and what Vyukasima's research says, that environmental component is much more in making someone right-handed. It is exactly what is this. If parents like them are going to take efforts, the lateralization will remain the way it was. And because of environmental factors, it will not change to right-handers. And we will have better left-handers in the world. And this is exactly what is needed. We are masking them, we are curbing them because of environmental situations. We are not able to provide gadgets, we are not able to understand their emotions, their difficulties. But if we provide, it will be a big difference in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I
we will do
also
it.
think it was helpful, and from Tracy's perspective as well, that we were right-handed, in fact, because we could look objectively at what the issues that our children were facing and find ways to help them. I think about what Tracy said about tying shoelaces. We used Velcro for our son for an awful long time because that
Wonderful.
saved him doing the shoelaces. But yeah, so we found, and with the handwriting, I say Heather never had anything about handwriting help for left-handers in her teacher training. And so we looked at it and thought, okay, well, this is a problem. How do we solve it? So I don't feel that actually us being right-handed of left-handed parent has been bad thing. It was actually really useful and helpful.
Thank you.
That's your great outlook. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.